The valley had seen many men come and go, and every one of them believed they would be the one to tame the wild horse that roamed near the river. The land was dry and wide, with tall grass bending under the sun, and the air carried stories of broken pride and empty promises. The horse moved freely across the open ground, strong and alert, untouched by ropes or commands. People spoke of it as if it were a test sent by nature itself. From early morning, riders gathered near the wooden fences, their boots dusty and their voices loud. They laughed with confidence, tightening saddles and checking reins, certain that experience would win again. The ranch owner stood nearby, arms crossed, watching with a tired look, because hope had failed him many times before. Every attempt ended the same way, with the rider thrown down and the horse running free. The horse stood apart from the noise, ears turning at every sound, body tense but not afraid. Its dark coat shined under the sun, and its muscles moved like flowing water with every step. It did not rush or panic, but waited, as if it knew what would come next. When a cowboy approached, the horse watched calmly, already reading the man's fear and force. The first rider charged with speed, swinging the rope high in the air. The rope landed, but the victory lasted only seconds. The horse bucked hard and twisted its body with power, throwing the man into the dirt. The crowd reacted with loud voices, some cheering, others laughing, but the ranch owner only sighed. He had seen this scene too many times. More riders tried, each using a different trick, some with patience, some with anger. One spoke softly, another shouted, but none reached the horse's trust. Dust filled the air, and sweat rolled down faces as hope slowly faded. By midday, even the strongest men showed doubt in their eyes. Near the edge of the crowd stood a young native girl named Maya. She had arrived quietly with her grandmother earlier that day, and had not spoken a word since. Her clothes were simple, and her hair was tied back neatly, but her eyes were full of focus. She watched every movement, every fall, and every failure without reacting. While others saw a challenge to control, Maya saw fear being pushed too far. She noticed how the horse flinched at sudden movement and how its breathing changed when surrounded. To her, the horse was not wild by nature, but wild by survival. It was protecting itself the only way it knew how. The ranch owner noticed her watching and felt a strange unease. She did not look impressed or disappointed, only thoughtful. When another rider failed and walked away angrily, Maya shifted her weight forward slightly. Her grandmother touched her arm gently, but Maya kept her eyes on the horse. By afternoon, the crowd grew restless. Whispers moved through the group, and some people began to leave. The ranch owner raised his hands and announced that there would be one last attempt for the day. A respected cowboy stepped forward, known for breaking the hardest horses in the region. Confidence returned briefly to the crowd. The cowboy approached slowly, showing calm, but inside he carried the same belief as the others. He mounted carefully, holding the reins tight, ready for a fight. The horse stood still for a moment, then suddenly burst forward with strength that shocked everyone. The cowboy lasted longer than the rest, but in the end, he fell hard into the dirt. Silence followed the fall. No cheers came this time. The crowd understood now that skill alone was not enough. The ranch owner lowered his head, defeated, and signaled for everyone to step back. The horse stood breathing heavily, eyes wide, but still unbroken. That was when Maya stepped forward. Her movement was slow and deliberate, and her feet barely made sound against the ground. People turned toward her in confusion, and some laughed quietly, thinking she was joking. She ignored every reaction and focused only on the horse. The ranch owner opened his mouth to stop her, but something in her calm made him pause. She did not carry a rope or a stick, and she did not raise her hands. She simply walked closer, stopping several steps away. The horse turned its head and watched her carefully. Maya stood still and waited. She did not stare or move suddenly. She let the wind carry her scent and allowed the horse to decide what to do next. The crowd held its breath, unsure whether to warn her or watch. For the first time that day, the horse did not back away. Its ears lowered slightly, and its breathing slowed. Maya remained quiet, her body relaxed, her presence gentle. She lowered herself to the ground, sitting calmly, showing she was not a threat. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the valley. Time seemed to slow, and even the birds nearby fell quiet. The horse took one careful step forward, then stopped. Gasps spread through the crowd, but Maya did not move. In that moment, everyone realized they were witnessing something different. No force, no fear, no control. Only patience and understanding stood between the girl and the untamed horse. And as the distance between them slowly closed, it became clear that the story of this valley was about to change forever. The crowd remained frozen as Maya stayed seated on the ground, her posture calm and open, while the horse stood only a few steps away. No one dared to speak, because even a small sound felt like it could break the fragile balance. The horse shifted its weight slowly, testing the space between fear and curiosity, while dust settled softly around its hooves. Maya breathed steadily and kept her eyes lowered, showing respect instead of challenge. She remembered her grandmother's lessons about listening without words and trusting silence more than force. To Maya, the horse was not an animal to be conquered, but a soul shaped by pain and survival. Every scar on its body told a story that no rope ever could. The horse took another step forward and then stopped again, lifting its head slightly as if trying to understand her stillness. Its muscles remained tense, ready to flee if danger appeared, but its eyes softened just a little. The wind moved through the valley, carrying the smell of grass and water, and the moment felt old, like something remembered rather than new. People at the fence leaned forward, unable to look away. Tom felt his heart pound as he watched the girl and the horse share space without struggle. He had spent years believing strength was the only language animals understood, yet here was proof that something deeper existed. The ranch owner rubbed his hands together nervously, unsure whether to stop this or let it continue. Maya slowly placed her palm on the ground beside her and pressed gently into the earth. She wanted the horse to feel that she belonged to the land just as much as it did. She whispered no words and made no sudden moves, allowing time to stretch naturally. The horse lowered its head slightly, ears flicking as it listened to her breathing. Minutes passed, though it felt much longer to those watching. The horse shifted again and finally closed the distance between them, stopping close enough for Maya to feel its warmth. She did not reach out, even though every part of her wanted to. She waited, believing trust must be offered, not taken. The horse sniffed the air near her shoulder and stepped sideways, circling her slowly. Maya turned her body gently to follow its movement, keeping her actions smooth and slow. Her calm never changed, and her heartbeat stayed steady. The horse seemed confused by the lack of pressure and began to relax bit by bit. A soft sound escaped the horse's throat, not a warning, but something closer to release. The crowd gasped quietly, but Maya stayed focused. She raised her hand slowly, stopping halfway, allowing the horse to choose whether to accept it. The horse leaned forward and touched her fingers with its nose. That simple contact sent a wave of emotion through the valley. Some people covered their mouths in disbelief, while others felt tears rise without knowing why. The ranch owner stepped back, understanding that this moment did not belong to him. Maya smiled gently but did not move further. She let the horse explore her presence, brushing against her hand and stepping away again. Each movement carried less fear than before. The horse's breathing slowed, and its body language changed from defense to curiosity. As the sun moved lower, the light turned warm and golden. Maya slowly stood, careful not to break the connection they had built. The horse stayed near her, no longer ready to flee. She took one small step back, then another, and the horse followed. The crowd murmured in awe as the impossible became real. No ropes were used, no force applied, and yet the wild horse chose to stay. Tom felt his throat tighten as he realized how wrong he had been all these years. Strength had failed where understanding succeeded. Maya walked toward the river, letting the horse follow at its own pace. She did not guide or pull, only invited. The horse hesitated once, then continued, trusting her lead without command. The water shimmered under the fading sun, reflecting a moment that would be remembered for generations. Her grandmother watched from afar with quiet pride. She knew this gift had been passed down through respect for nature and patience earned over time. Maya had not learned this from books or trainers, but from listening to the land and those who came before her. When Maya stopped near the water, the horse stood beside her, calm and grounded. She rested her hand on its neck at last, feeling its strength without fear. The horse did not resist or pull away. Instead, it lowered its head, accepting her touch fully. The ranch owner finally stepped forward, his voice trembling as he spoke softly. He admitted he had never seen anything like this and did not fully understand it. Maya looked at him briefly and then back at the horse. She explained that the horse did not need to be broken, only heard. Silence followed her words, heavy and thoughtful. People began to understand that the wild horse had never been the problem. It was the methods used that failed. As evening settled over the valley, Maya led the horse back toward the open field. She did not tie it or lock it away. She simply walked, trusting that it would stay because it chose to. And it did. That night, stories spread beyond the valley, carried by voices filled with wonder. People spoke of the girl who did what the best cowboys could not. But Maya knew the truth was simpler. She had listened, and the horse had answered. Yet this was only the beginning, because the choice the ranch owner would make next would test whether the world was ready to learn the lesson Maya had just taught. Morning arrived quietly over the valley, and the land felt different, as if it had witnessed something sacred the day before. The wild horse stood near the open field, free and unbound, yet it had not wandered far during the night. Maya approached slowly from a distance, carrying no tools, only calm intention. The horse lifted its head and watched her, not with fear, but with recognition. People gathered again near the fences, drawn by curiosity and disbelief. Word had spread quickly, and many wanted to see if what happened before was real or just a moment that could not be repeated. The ranch owner stood among them, troubled and thoughtful, knowing his old ways no longer felt right. Maya stopped a few steps away from the horse and waited. She remembered that trust built once could still be broken if rushed. The horse stepped toward her on its own, lowering its head slightly as if greeting her. The crowd murmured softly, but no one laughed this time. Tom watched closely and felt something shift inside him. He had spent his life believing that control was earned through dominance. Now he saw that control given freely was stronger. He wondered how many animals he had misunderstood before this moment. Maya turned and began walking toward the far side of the field. She did not look back or signal. The horse followed, steady and calm, choosing her direction without hesitation. The distance between them stayed close, but not forced. The ranch owner stepped forward and raised his hand to stop the crowd from interfering. He knew now that shouting or sudden movement could ruin everything. He decided to let the day unfold without commands or pressure. As Maya walked, she noticed how the horse matched her pace. She slowed, and the horse slowed. She stopped, and the horse stopped. This silent conversation spoke louder than words ever could. It showed a balance that had been missing before. Near the old training corral, Maya paused. This place held memories of struggle and failure. The horse hesitated, sensing the past stored in the ground. Maya turned slightly and sat down again, showing that nothing would be forced. The horse circled her slowly, testing the space, remembering fear. Maya stayed patient and grounded. She placed her hand on the soil and waited. The horse eventually stepped closer, tension easing little by little. The ranch owner approached carefully, stopping far enough away to show respect. He asked Maya in a quiet voice what she wanted to do next. She replied calmly that the horse needed freedom first, and trust would follow naturally. He nodded, understanding that his goal had been wrong from the start. He had wanted a broken horse, not a willing partner. The difference now felt clear and heavy. Over the next hours, Maya moved around the land with the horse beside her. She led it to water, then to shade, then back into the open sun. She showed no rush, no demand. The horse responded by staying near, choosing presence over escape. The cowboys who once failed stood silently and watched. Some felt shame, others felt relief. They realized that strength did not disappear by choosing kindness. Instead, It became something deeper and lasting. By afternoon, the ranch owner made a choice that surprised everyone. He announced that no one would ride the horse that day or the next. He said the horse would not be trained by force again. Murmurs spread, but no one argued. Maya looked at him with quiet approval. She knew change was difficult, especially when pride was involved. The ranch owner admitted he had learned more in one day than in many years. Later, a small group approached Maya with questions. They asked how she learned this way of understanding. She told them her people believed animals listened to intention before action. She said fear traveled faster than ropes ever could. The horse stood beside her during the conversation, calm and alert. It moved only when she moved, not because it had to, but because it wanted to. This sight left a deep mark on everyone watching. As the sun lowered again, Maya led the horse toward a wide, open hill. She stopped there and let it move freely. The horse ran for a moment, fast and strong, then returned on its own. Gasps filled the air as trust proved real again. Tom felt his eyes burn as he watched. He realized that true mastery was not about winning a battle, but about removing the need for one. The ranch owner announced that the horse would no longer be called wild or untamable. He said it would be known as free. That word carried weight and responsibility. As evening settled, Maya prepared to leave with her grandmother. She did not claim ownership or reward. She only asked that the horse be respected and given space. The ranch owner promised this openly in front of everyone. Before leaving, Maya approached the horse one last time. She rested her hand against its neck and thanked it softly. The horse leaned into her touch, steady and calm. The valley felt quiet again, but changed. What began as a challenge had become a lesson. Yet one question remained unspoken among the people. What would happen when the world beyond the valley came seeking this horse? And as the stars appeared, it became clear that the final test was still ahead, not for the horse, but for the humans who believed they had learned enough. The news did not stay in the valley for long, because stories like this never do. Riders carried it to nearby towns, and soon people came not to tame the horse, but to see it with their own eyes. They arrived with cameras in their hands and questions on their lips, curious about the girl who changed everything. The valley felt crowded again, but this time the air carried respect instead of challenge. The horse remained calm through it all, moving freely across the land, choosing where to stand and when to rest. It no longer stayed hidden near the river, because it did not feel hunted anymore. Maya returned with her grandmother when she heard about the visitors, not to protect the horse, but to guide the people. The ranch owner stood beside Maya and spoke to the crowd with honesty. He told them the horse would not be sold, displayed, or forced into shows. He said the land would remain open, and the horse would decide its own path. Some people looked disappointed, but most nodded in understanding. A man from a distant town asked if the horse could ever be ridden. Maya listened and answered calmly. She said maybe one day, if the horse chose that bond, but never because someone demanded it. The crowd fell quiet, realizing that patience had become the rule. Tom watched everything unfold and felt pride mixed with humility. He had changed too. He no longer spoke loudly or walked with force. He spent time observing animals instead of commanding them. The lesson had reshaped him from the inside. Days passed, and the visitors slowly left. The valley returned to its gentle rhythm. The horse continued to stay near Maya whenever she visited, walking beside her without fear. Children watched from a distance, learning without being told. One afternoon, the ranch owner asked Maya to walk with him across the field. He thanked her for opening his eyes and admitted that he once measured success by control. He now measured it by trust. Maya smiled softly and said the land had always known the answer. As seasons changed, grass grew thicker and the river ran stronger. The horse grew healthier, its movements smooth and confident. It ran freely and always returned, not because it was trained, but because it felt safe. Maya never claimed credit. She continued her life quietly, helping her grandmother and learning from the land. But people remembered her name, and they remembered the way she stood without fear or force. One morning, as the sun rose gently, the horse approached Maya and lowered its head near her shoulder. She rested her hand on its neck, and for the first time, she climbed onto its back slowly and carefully. There was no saddle, no reins, only balance and trust. The horse stood still, then took a few calm steps forward. No crowd watched this moment. It belonged only to them. Maya felt the steady rhythm beneath her and smiled, knowing this was not victory, but partnership. When she stepped down, the horse remained close, brushing against her side. The bond was complete, not sealed by ropes, but by choice. The ranch owner later spoke of this moment to others, not as a tale of triumph, but as proof that respect could change even the hardest hearts. Years later, people would still tell the story of the wild horse and the native girl. But those who truly understood knew the truth was deeper. The horse had never needed to be tamed. The people did. And in that valley, under open skies, the lesson lived on, carried by wind, hooves, and quiet understanding, reminding everyone that the strongest connection begins when force ends.